Hey guys, my name is Jenny and I am the Shameless Shrink. I am drinking some matcha tea today. I don't know if you guys have ever had this. It's like this green powder stuff. Oh, actually I did bring it. Here it is. So it's like this stuff. I'm not endorsing this brand by any means, but it's like it comes in little pouches like this typically. And then you take a tablespoon and you can mix it with milk, almond milk, coconut milk, soy milk, whatever floats your boat. That being said, if you're like thinking it's going to taste like coffee or that it's going to taste super sweet, it is going to be very disappointing because it does not taste like coffee. And it's not sweet unless you add honey or sugar or something like that to it. So basically, if you want to make it sweet, add some honey in there or some sugar. Or if you like coffee, I would recommend that you stick with coffee because it's very different in taste. But if you like green tea, you might really like this. It has a lot of the, I'm going to say this wrong. Oh, it is 100% green tea powder. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about what makes an eating disorder an actual eating disorder and not just disordered eating or somebody forming bad eating habits. This gets really tricky because a lot of people, I would say, in our American culture have what we would call disordered eating, where they do things that are probably not the healthiest, like, you know, consistently using food for emotional comfort, although eating food for emotional reasons is totally okay from time to time. Or just like what I see more of is people just trying to restrict their foods in crazy ways, like people that have been on very restrictive calorie diets for all of their lives, or they just restrict certain food groups and it's not for like any significant health reason, or just trying to like manipulate their food in a way that's not healthy emotionally or physically in the long term. Now, there's definitely a fine line between it being just kind of like our regular societal disordered eating and then it becoming a full-blown eating disorder. Originally, when they were diagnosing eating disorders, a lot of it had to do with people's appearance and like them losing weight or gaining a significant amount of weight. But we have definitely learned from that it is not about weight. And in fact, a lot of people with eating disorders come in all shapes and sizes. And an eating disorder isn't about like somebody being a certain weight. So I definitely want to like throw out that stigma that you're supposed to look a certain way or be a certain weight to have an eating disorder. What it does look like is a person who is starting to become obsessive in their patterns around food. They will begin organizing their life around food, like skipping events with friends for, you know, exercising, or becoming obsessive about making sure that a restaurant has like a certain type of food or food arrangement or calories. And then just, I think isolation is another piece. You'll see like people will start to just not be as social as they used to be. They'll start to change personalities a little bit, or they could at least. Some other warning signs are just, especially noticing their attitude change around meal times, and especially if they don't have control over it. So noticing more anger or anxiety, or even after meal times for people who maybe struggle with like the compensation part of it. What else? Seeing significant weight changes can be a factor for sure, and you will, I mean, for the anorexia DSM diagnosis, unfortunately a lot of it's still based in weight, but we are like uncovering that there is what we call atypical anorexia, where a person may not meet the criteria of being a low BMI, but they still are engaging in anorexic behaviors, and they actually like medically can still have all the same issues even if they don't have like an anorexia normative body type. Not with every eating disorder, but with a lot of them you will see the body image dysmorphia issues, And basically that's just like fancy jargon for like a person really hating on their body, not finding themselves attractive, over obsessing on different body parts, or thinking that they're either larger or smaller or like a different shape than they are. Yeah, or just like starting to obsess over like their bodies, other people's bodies, celebrities' bodies, like all of those different factors usually are all kind of at play. Now, that being said, some people, they don't necessarily have that body image piece because they're more focused on maybe the control piece, or it could be serving a completely different function. But you'll see that commonly there is a body image piece to it. The last thing I want to cover, because I probably will say this in many videos, but I want to make sure it gets heard, is that eating disorders don't look a certain way. Like, they're not just females, they're not just a certain ethnicity, they're not a socioeconomic status. So an eating disorder can literally happen to any person. And in fact, binge eating disorder happens very commonly in males. And so I think that people overlook binge eating disorder a lot because it's just been more of a newer diagnosis. But that's another eating disorder that is commonly not talked about. And that's really me going on a tangent about binge eating disorder. But really what I want to say is, like, it doesn't just happen to young, female, white, privileged people. It can happen to anybody. And so if you or a loved one are struggling with that, please, please, please seek help. And there are a bunch of resources that I would be happy to connect with you with. So if you want to contact me, my contact info will be at the end of this video. Okay, I barely had any of this during our talk. It's probably because this is like the first of what I hope to be a lot of videos. Anyway, I would love your feedback, and if there's any topic you specifically want me to cover that's related to therapy or eating disorders, or random, maybe I'll just throw out a random one, that would be great.